The First Wind, Part 1, by Alarie, Scribe of Leixax.
I wasn't always a scribe. Before the gods tore the sky for us, I was an errand boy for the elders of Clan Ixul. I fetched sanded parchment, stirred the ink pots, and swept the steps of the Temple of the Moon during sunrise. My hands were ink-stained even before I knew what the reading symbols meant. In those days, Leixax pulsed like a great drum. Our plazas echoed with music from reed flutes and clay drums. Smoke from sweetroot fires curled above the rooftops. Fisherwomen sang to the waves at dawn. My sister and I used to race up the temple stairs just to hear the Waruma, our scholars, argue about stars. We thought the world was only what we saw, the white cliffs, the spice winds, the moonstones that glowed when rain touched them. But then came the boats, and the silence that followed. The first reports came from Boriken, traders who fled with half-filled canoes and haunted eyes. The Council of Elders gathered twice that week, an unusual sign. I remember whispering to Elder Zam, "Why do they meet so much?" He only replied, "Because something has arrived that should not exist." It was the first time I saw Gurianaxia. She came barefoot into the temple chamber, her cloak the deep red and green of sacrificial shells, her staff of polished serpent wood clutched like a lightning rod. People say she was young, but to me, she looked timeless, like something carved from memory itself. Her voice was soft, but her words struck like bone flutes.
The gods warned us the world would change. What walks now is not from this cycle. They bring fire, and our gods do not know the scent of their blood. We must survive.
That night I could not sleep. I lay beneath our hanging net, and my sister curled beside me, whispering fears into my ear. She asked if the invaders were other gods. I didn't know. I still don't. A few days later, while carrying scrolls to the harbor temple, I passed a warrior with blood on his tunic and a spear notched with 5 jaguar teeth. He was muttering to another, "Krasux is back." 3 more ships turned to ash at sea. He says they still come. He says we must kill the sun to survive the storm. That was the first time I heard his name, Krasux. I only saw him once, from a distance. He stood atop the obsidian ramparts, eyes dark as night tide, his armor wet with rain. He wasn't like the others. He had the stillness of someone who had already seen the end, a warrior's warrior. They said he once fought off 10 Spanish scouts by himself, tore one apart with his own hands. Some feared him more than they feared the invaders. I just watched him silently carve the symbol of Guabanchex into the stone wall. He bled into it without flinching, wearing a noble feather crown soaked in blood. As he walked with his bodyguards, Agwebana approached, whispering,
"Let us talk in private, Krasa."
To which Krasux barked back,
"This is not time for secrets. We are facing total defeat. Do you understand that?"
before storming away. Agwebana was different. Charismatic, clever, always in a new cloak of feathers, always offering peace. I met him when he visited my scribe hall, asking for the ledgers of moon offerings. He smiled at me, asked my name, and told me,
"You have a calmness in your eyes, Alarie. Keep writing. The gods read too."
I believed him. But the gods were quiet. Then one day the harbor bells tolled without pattern. Not the call of trade, not a festival. It was the call to breach. Elders ran, warriors gathered, and even the sea seemed to hold its breath. The rest you know. The sky shattered, the earth screamed, and we were taken, or saved, or sacrificed. I was 17. Now I'm 82, and I still see them. Gurianaxia's flaming staff, Krasux's obsidian stare, Agwebana's sorrowful smile, as clearly as I see these shaking hands. They weren't gods, but the gods listened to them, and perhaps that's what saved us.
The First Wind, Part 2.
The first days in Burgandia were not days. We didn't know if time still worked the same. There was a small sun sitting opposite the golden one we were used to. For weeks our bodies woke at the wrong hours, hungry when there was no food, cold when the air was warm. Some elders claimed this world was not after the breach, but beneath it, a world within the fold of the old one. But to be honest, I thought we were with the gods in the sky, just lost in their vast world. We had brought very little, a few food stores, some canoes, stone tools, a handful of holy relics. The priest argued whether we had arrived by divine wind or cosmic theft, but we were alive. and that meant we needed to build. I was assigned to the tally tent. My job was simple: document the names of the living, the missing, and the dead. I wrote the name of my father under missing. It felt like betrayal. Each name was written in red pigment. Each name is a thread in the cloth of who we still were. After 3 days, the pigment ran out, and we switched to crushed berries. The scrolls stank of rot. The first creature we hunted was not a bird or fish. It was a long-limbed animal that barked like a dog and burrowed into the black mud. One of the warriors joked it tasted like a liar's tongue. We called it Kokozamex. It fed us for a day. The first strange magic came when a boy touched a plant with red flowers and immediately began glowing, dimly, like amber fire in his chest. Gurionaxia declared the plant sacred and burned it. But I had already sketched its petals into my log. Everything was different. Even the gods felt distant, like echoes behind thick stone. Only Gurionaxia claimed she still heard them clearly. She sat under trees speaking to things no one saw. Krasuk stayed apart, training younger warriors in silence and hunting for the tribe. Aguebana walked among the people, lifting spirits with stories and plans to explore. They no longer spoke much to each other. I think they saw each other as rivals. Since the cacique died in battle against the Spanish, the people looked to them as a kind of trinity. But now the people had picked favorites and fragmented against each other. If I had to choose, I would resettle with Aguebana. He is pleasant and attractive. But I will follow Gurionaxia. She is my leader, and I owe her loyalty through our legal contract as scribe. Gurionaxia is a great leader. I once saw her lean over a stream and whisper,
"Tell me this land's name."
and the water turned still. That frightened me more than anything. But what changed everything was the arrival of the first Burgundian. It was near dusk during one of our fire vigils that a figure appeared at the edge of the clearing. Tall, wrapped in bone-white furs, antlers woven into his hair. He said nothing, just watched. We didn't know if he was a beast or spirit. Aguebana first tried to approach,
Hi, friend. Welcome.
but Krasux cut him off with his imposing armor and grim demeanor.
Go and sit down, Aguebana.
No more words were exchanged, but they bowed to each other. Krasuk stared the man down, holding his long obsidian spear. Then the man placed something on the ground, a bundle of cured meat and a stone carved in the shape of a sun. It was then we realized we were not alone.
The First Pact, Part 3.
Krasux would later lead a small contingent westward toward early Vicoria, the only large settlement known to the Lexans. Though young and fractured, Vicoria held promise. At that time, our settlement in the mountains of Krastia was low on grain and struggling to feed the growing number of survivors. Krasux, ever the strategist, saw opportunity where others saw hardship. He planned a calculated offering in exchange for food, supplies, and strategic knowledge. In return, he offered Vicoria a trove of Leixan military tactics, 2 master blacksmiths, and detailed blueprints for obsidian weaponry and wicker plate armor. It was a pact forged not by force, but by foresight. Vicoria, ruled by a rising noble caste with trained fighters and early strongholds, agreed. Krasux negotiated for military training and intelligence about the land's terrain and regional clans. In return, he left behind 2 of our finest Leixan blacksmiths, masters of obsidian bladecraft and wicker plate design. These smiths, whose names are still recorded in Vicorian scrolls, would eventually become enshrined in local myths as the founders of Vicoria's first smith guilds. Their techniques, merging Lexan obsidian rituals with Vicorian alloy forging, produced the first hybrid spears and armor seen in Burgundia. Krasux did not stay long, but the seeds he planted took root. When he returned to Krastia, he brought not only maps and tactics, but also a promise that Burgundia could be shaped not by conquest,